I've been working in IT for almost a decade now as the product designer, and I must admit that I do feel a little bit behind all the AI things around right now. When I was talking to a lot of my colleagues and friends, they do share the same sentiment that they wish they would learn more about AI because it feels important right now, especially for your career. And it inspired me to think about creating an Uncut series where we will explore various tools together one by one, meaning that it's not me here trying to teach you something, but you will basically see how I myself try to learn more about these tools, and I hope that all of us will feel more secure in saying, yep, I can use AI to create designs or to create some artifacts, user research artifacts, or whatever I might need for my career and things we do as product designers. Let's start today's our first episode of learning the AI together. And I wanted to learn more about Figma Make. If you have any suggestions which tool you would like to see next, please let me know in the comments down below. Today, let's go over to Figma itself. I think this is how we start. We go to Figma Make and we just create. Okay, that looks cool. Immediately, it's just like a prompt box. I can like even paste a Figma frame to start with my own design. I can also select a library. Let's do the describe with library on and off too. My idea would be I have like a very specific design problem in mind that I want to see how these tools might solve. My idea is that users can select data sources such as Excel sheets. Okay, users can select data sources such as Excel sheets or other similar, and then they can select columns from those sources that they wish to add the component data where they organize selected columns into a new database. So this is the goal that I want this to solve. We can also add this is for the SaaS B2B. I have no clue if it's effective or not. Right now, let's just do just that. It's already building it. Okay, it says that it created that. It has main features such as data sources, column selection, component data, saved databases. Right now, I'm also interested in solving these like complex problems. What we see right now, we can see like that this sort of platform and the sources, columns, database is interesting. This is how it guided it. I already see like some challenge with that. It would be hard to see which saved databases is corresponding to which data sources, so we will see it in a second. Let's add sources. Does it mean that we search for something? Let's just add all of them. This is like some directory. What I like is that it says how much columns there and how much rows are there. I can also remove those. So we have in a total 18 columns here. One thing I like about this choice is that I can clearly see the relationship between the columns and the database here. Let's select the customer name, email. Let's select the product amount. I selected at least 6 columns. The component data. I think it's like weird that it said so. I can call the database and then I can save it in here. So it almost feels like a separate flow here, and then I have like an access to all the saved databases. Right now what it did, it just took the columns one by one. Right now it's in the same order as I selected my columns. I'm curious that I cannot do the reorder which I wanted. Let's give it a taste database name. Yes, I also specified actually that they organize selected columns into a new database. It is true that I didn't specify that I want it to be also able to reorganize. Let's still save the database, and now I can see it. I can preview it. I want to be able to change the order of selected columns. Let's do that. What we have, I like the list of new features and key improvements. It almost helps you to create this presentation for the team or shareholders. Add a couple of sources. Let's select a couple of columns. Now here's where I have the column order. I like the both options of removing them from here too. and being able to either do the drag and drop or the arrows up and down. What I'm curious is then, why do we need the compound data tab if it's basically what we do here? I would actually just do what I feel it feels like. It feels like compound data could be connected to the column order within column selections. Let's see what the system thinks. You are absolutely right. But am I right though? Perfect. It redesigned the workflow and now we have the live preview. This one is challenging, definitely. It works nicely for the when we have just like the 4 columns, but I will address it in a minute that our users are working with like tens and hundreds of columns. This one though is nice because I get the real data preview. What I will say and tell it right now. Also, we have 2 warnings. Fix it for me. Now what I wanted to do is that I want to let it know that our users can actually work with a lot of columns and data sources at the same time, and that they usually have the database as rather the whole project. I like this reasoning, but it's going like so fast. I wish I would be able to scroll it and read it. What it says, I understand users need to work on each database as a separate product since they're dealing with tens of data sources and hundreds of columns. Let me redesign this to be project-based, where each component database is treated as its own workspace. Exactly. I just started to think about how I myself would usually go through such challenge, because this flow right now, as I said, it will be like very hard to have a better relationship to show create a database and then data sources used there. I see a lot of changes right now. What I'm curious is that now we have separately saved databases and projects. Well, I would usually say they might be connected more than the system right now expects. We also have a description of the workflow. I need to create a project, add sources, configure columns, complete project. The project will create a database, and then I can manage all project and completed databases from the dashboard. What I like about it is that I can play around with the project and create a couple of databases which I may test out instead of creating every project per every database. It will depend heavily on the way our users work specifically. I also like the empty state. Let's create our first project. This is my assumption right now that one project can feed or create like a couple of connected databases. So it's like a relationship one to many, not one to one. Let's open project, and now we have the previous similar design of steps. Let's add sources. I think what is annoying is that I cannot do bulk. I selected 11 columns. We can do the preview. There is no horizontal scroll, unfortunately. I can now call it as a test database. Let's save it. Project is rendered as completed. Let's open it again. Can I do and save another database? So it is a relationship one to many. I have my test project with all my previous selected things. I wish it also would say connected databases that I saved from this project. Maybe it's not necessary, because right now when it's just a test case without any real link to the product, it is hard to tell what needs to be specifically from the business logic to be done. Save databases. I also think that is very not clear which project created which database. And let's say and share this with the chat. What I shared is that it's not clear right now which database is connected to which project. Also, currently one project can create multiple databases, and how it should work is that one project is connected to one database. However, we can have versions. Let's like amp it up a little bit. With every message, I do think that I add much more information that should have been there from the start. I think maybe it's because it's just a test case and we don't have all the business requirements as you usually would working on these projects. Yes, I could add much more necessary information for the system to use and create design. But then it's also true that sometimes we see better things when we work on something. It's hard to know everything in advance. Let's create our first project and open it up, add a couple of sources, select couple of columns. Let's reorder some just to have it. Let's call it test, the database, and publish it. And now it says that it's the project database. I can open project. I like it, but what happens if I do the version? We will switch a couple of columns and I will save it as V1, like the first version. I will publish it. And what happened? Okay, now we have like 4 warnings. What I will also add to the system is that we perhaps should unite project and save databases actually. What else did I want to add? That it's hard to do a multi-select in adding sources. What I wanted to know, data preview without horizontal scroll doesn't all see in the whole preview with many columns. I think we should unite concepts of project and saved databases. As we see here, could versions be automatic and not relying on user just indicating the version in the database name? And also I would add multi-select in 80 data sources. As for now, you have to pick one at one by one. Let's take a look at the new version. Let's create new project, open it, add sources. Now we can do the multi-select. I don't have to click back and forth all the time. Add selected. Hold on, I think it's not working. It also can re-add the same source. Let's add a couple of columns. I also wish that would be like select all, and let's let the AI know about it. What else do you want to do? Let's test it. Actually, it's now the published database. I like how it changed it now when it's a project. Let's publish a new database. We can open the project. Now I can change and publish the version 2. Let's fix the things that I just noticed, such as user should not add the same source twice. It seems that multi-select adds only the first item in selection, and let's add the ability to select add all columns from the data source. As for now, user has to select each one individually, and the data preview with added columns doesn't have the horizontal scroll, so user only sees the columns that are visible on screen. First 7 columns. What I like about it is that I don't have right now to be very strict on the prompting I do. It is pretty smart. I am not the best prompter in this world. I think that it gets it pretty nicely. I do think that it missed some of my previous instructions, but I do realize that I change a lot of things at the same time, where probably it would be better to change one thing by one. But also I wanted to test the AI on these more complex examples. And now I think I broke it. Connection interrupted. Please try again. Should I try again? No clue, honestly, right now. Okay, so it retried the project. We have version 10, and it asked me questions. Do I want to add any features to existing workflows, enhance UI, UX of specific components, implement additional data source type or integrations, add more advanced data management capabilities, something else entirely? I like these prompts because they give me a lot of ideas. Let's create a project, call it a test, open it. We will add sources, picking up a couple of columns, and it still didn't add the horizontal scroll, so I still cannot see, unfortunately, the columns. It feels like it won't fix it. And it won't fix it, the multi-add. It's fine. Let's publish the database. What I will ask it right now is the last step before we proceed going into more of the UI things. So I would play with it even more and more. It's just that it takes a lot of time. At the same time, it takes not a lot of time. It's interesting. We can combine these things. Let's see how it does it. When we open the project, it looks like data sources, column configuration, and preview and publish could all be one screen rather than divided with segmented toggle. What is interesting is that it's already thinking about responsive layout, second for mobile. I haven't specified it anywhere that it is supposed to be responsive or that users will use mobile for such applications, but I still like that it already considered it. Now we have the version 11, and let's create the project as always. This is how it did it. Now we definitely have challenges with the amount of data that could make it into the row. I do think that this should be somehow changed or updated a little bit. We have the column configuration. here. So what it did right now is just that it simply added whatever was there to the cards, and I think I broke it with that. I will have to add a little bit more instructions before we can proceed. Okay, and now we have the preview, and now we can see even less of the columns. Where do you even start fixing it? What I suggest is let's combine the data sources selected with column configuration on the left. The middle part should only now include the column order. The third column, the preview and publish, data preview should be united with live preview from the middle part. And let's redo the simple data sources for selection, since now we don't have a lot of horizontal space and the row looks crumbled. Now we have the version number 12. And what will be happening with our test project? I like the empty states. We can save progress. Let's add sources. This is what kind of I wanted it to achieve. I like it. We can now do the column selection. What I find weird right now is that it creates like card inside of the card. Where do I start with fixing it? And then we have, this is what it did. I wanted it to combine the data preview with live preview. I think I know how. I will try to fix it. What do I suggest us to do is when we select data sources, we create duplicates of showing selected databases with the column section below it. It's kind of the same. Let's combine those. Let's see how it does it. Once I started modifying this a lot, I need to be extremely specific and I'm not helping the system. I will see if it can remove the card inside and actually load the column under to take the whole section. So it's just it. And let's remove the live preview altogether and have, right now I'm being super broad, have something fixed with the data preview since it has too little real estate to show us anything. I know that I'm getting too broad. Let's try it at the version number 13 probably. Oh, it's 14 already. We will add sources. There is still something with that. With this data preview. It's not nice. Could take like some horizontal space for sure. What I will do right now, let's do the point and click, and I can scroll when I do the point and click, so let me scroll and do that. I can ask for changes like that. Let's remove sample data from data sources, and now it still does that thing weird and we cannot collapse the cards. What we will do right now is that we will try to add a library. I will go to community and look for the Redux themes. Now let's publish it. Okay, I need to export it to Figma Make. Let's wait again. Going back to our design, I think I need to reload tab. I can finally select the Redux themes. Let's do it. Okay. I don't think this is how Redux themes looks like. Let's create new project, open it, add sources. I mean, it looks nicer, but still, I'm just curious that I don't think it uses necessarily the components. It's really just the style. So there might be a lot of things that would not be considered a correct usage of design system. We will go back to the Figma Make and I will add the library from the start and we will repeat the initial prompt. Let's see how it will use the prompt and the selected library from the start. Okay, what I see right now is that it definitely looks like the Redux themes much more. I can see that it created a very similar approach as to what we started with, if you remember, before we started adding all these changes. But let's select these data sources. That's an interesting choice. Let's go to the next. We will select columns. And here it improved it slightly better. It also added this tag. It's like the data type. And let's go next. We have totally 8 columns. We can see those. We'll try altogether the last thing. What I wanted to do, write me prompt so that Figma Make can recreate this. I'm not asking it to change anything within the design, but will it still update the design and therefore make it think much longer? Let's see. Okay, can I copy that? I'm not sure I can copy that.
Oh my god, bro.
Inspect the element and I will probably just Is there any way I can just extract it? What? But it's like all of them are separate, so I can only take text one by one. Hold on, give me a second. Nice, I copied it. Let's create new Figma Make, the last one. I will add this whole prompt. Let's see if it will recreate the version that we worked a lot on, but because we will add the design system from the start, maybe it will provide a better design. I also like that now we have the hello world before it starts. I'm just curious where, how, and why, but okay. Now we have the data flow. I do think it looks more like Redux theme, so definitely introducing the library right from the start is much better than working on the wireframe UX and then proceeding to add the library. We already have like projects. We have two data sources with selected columns. I like how it specifies the type. Then we have the column order. I don't think that is the highlight color that Redux Themes has. We can have the preview. This scroll still doesn't work. There is some settings, so it still added a lot of things. Let's create a new project just to test it out. Test compound data name. What is that? Project and then specifically the more technical name for the database. I can add my first source. It's not a very convenient way of adding the sources. Let's select some columns, move them. Now we have numbers and we have the data preview as far as you know, which doesn't scroll. It's now definitely a different project. Let's discuss. To summarize today's findings, what I will say is that adding library first, if you plan have it be as close as possible to your design system, is probably very important. I still would say that it's just use the CSS and you still will have to check if it use like all the behavior of the components correctly. My first mode when I just was working with it as like to create the UX and it was just using some standard library, that was the best. Was this like creative wireframing, which allowed me to see new ways how we may improve the flow or think about solving this problem for user. So Figma Make is overall a very nice place. I think like I gathered a lot of ideas personally. I think that it can work with these complex flows and complex projects. I also think that right now I'm talking mostly about myself, but it's a nice thing for me to train more to write better prompts for AI, just to make sure that I include all the necessary things. Also, I think what would be the best probably for such project is for me, first of all, to do the user flow UX part and then fit it into the system. Overall, I think it was a very interesting experiment on thinking how to write prompts, that probably user flow should be thought before that. I mean, that's always true, but that it may just help us writing better prompts and do better wireframing. As to using it just for design, maybe if we would use it a little bit for the simpler flow, I think so. Or maybe if I beforehand created screens in Figma and then added those to the system, I think that would work the best. So overall, I think it was a very nice experiment to get to know the Figma Make. I think how I might use it personally is for these initial ideations, how to see and build the flow, experiment with a lot of things that I might have not even considered before. And I mean, I usually work with clients who are not allowing using Figma Make anyway in work because of all the security and privacy reasons. So I'm not hunting for adding the design system myself. But if you're one of these designers who are, looking forward into that thing, I would suggest adding it beforehand and probably working on better guidelines. And I would be curious how to create these better guidelines for Figma Make so that it would use the design system better. Or maybe if you can even fit the design system documentation into guidelines to let Figma Make know how to use this or that component. Please let me know if you want to see me play with Figma Make again in terms of how should we create the guidelines, and can we actually make it use the design system better? Maybe if I introduce design screens from beforehand. And next time for this Uncut series of learning together all the things connected and related to AI, we'll try the next tool. Overall, I hope that you enjoyed this same as me, and I will see you during next videos. Bye.